The other kind of big story was that NASCAR has blocked the transfer of the charters. So let's get into that from Jayski real quick because that was sort of the big, I guess, court drama thing of the day. As expected, NASCAR motioned to dismiss the lawsuit from both 2311 and Front Row Motorsports with the newly refiled preliminary injunction request from teams as they seek temporary charters over the duration of the lawsuit against the sanctioning body. In this motion to dismiss on Monday, NASCAR responded with stripped of its bluster. Plaintiff's complaint reflects nothing more than dissatisfaction with business negotiations that didn't go their way. In other words, NASCAR argues in its response that 2311 and Front Row have neither proof of the merits that this is even a legitimate antitrust case, and there would be a statute of limitations on the language of a charter written in 2016 in the first place. So I get that these guys are irritated, and NASCAR is who I mean by these guys, are irritated that they're being sued. And I get that obviously if you're suing somebody, you're irritated to begin with. That's why you're suing them. But this sniping back and forth with your court filings and stuff like that, it's got to stop. Because I know NASCAR wanted to own 2311 with the comments here, but the complaint reflects nothing more than dissatisfaction with business negotiations that didn't go their way. Well, they bought charters. They're trying to buy charters. So what you're essentially saying here by trying to own them with this, and 2311 has said stuff in the past, but I'm just using this from NASCAR side as an example. But 2311 has done the same thing. So they both sides need to stop. So let me be clear about that. But what you're basically saying is 2311 invested in NASCAR and saw that was a bad deal, and they're upset about that. That is essentially what you said right there when you're trying to own them right there. Like, so just, I get that you're irritated with each other right now, but probably stop with the sniping back and forth every time you file something in court. Like, we don't need all that. Just keep what I like about Front Row Motorsports is Bob Jenkins, for the most part, has just kept quiet. You haven't heard really too much from Bob Jenkins. No inflammatory comments or anything like that. I wish NASCAR in 2311, Denny Hamlin would take the same approach. Stop sniping at each other back and forth because you end up saying stuff like this that makes neither side look good. So 2311 wanted to buy an extra charter and they wanted the charters to be permanent. NASCAR said they're just mad that that's a bad business decision. Like, so it's a bad business decision to buy into NASCAR. Like, it's just stop sniping at each other because you end up saying stuff like this. They can't, and I'm not necessarily meaning that's what they meant by it, but it can be construed like that, right? So if it can be construed like that, yeah, let's just stop. Let's just file the stuff and move on with it. We don't need a little back and forth every time something is filed. But to Bob Pockris here, to sort of close out what was going on here today with this filing. NASCAR filing today indicates it won't consider charter transfer of the SHR charters of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports as they purchased these charters fully aware that they contained a release provision which needed to be accepted for any requested transfer to be considered. So basically NASCAR has blocked the transfers. So now we have to figure out what will go on with the transfer of these charters now that they can't be transferred the way SHR, Stewart Haas Racing, at the time wanted them to be transferred basically to 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. So now we're in limbo. What does SHR do with these charters? And here's what Bob Pockris had to say about it. And I'll give my thoughts here in just a minute. Bob Pockris, referring to It's Austin on Twitter, said the two SHR charters still to be determined. The teams ask in their preliminary injunction motion for, at the minimum, that those charter sales go through to them while the lawsuit continues. If the judge doesn't grant that request, to be determined. Lease to another team for a year? Question mark. I don't know. So Bob Pockris is leaning toward they will lease them for a year to another team, and then after that, when all the legal stuff gets settled and all that, that's when they'll be transferred permanently to 2311 and to Front Row Motorsports, no matter how the charter issue goes one way or the other. That, of course, if 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, after the lawsuit concludes, still want to be a part of NASCAR. There's all kinds of situations, but that was the big lawsuit update today. And my big takeaway from it is I agree with Bob Pockris. They'll probably be rented out for a year. to another team or something like that. So somebody will probably come in for a year and use those, and then after that, they'll be transferred to 2311. The teams that they'll probably be rented to for a year will probably be 2311 Front Row Motorsports. I don't think it's a stretch to imagine they would go anywhere else, and then after that, they'll permanently own them, right? So they'll work something. In my opinion, I think that's what will happen. But that is the poll question, by the way. What happens to the SHR charters now? Sold to another team, rent to another team for 1 year, then go to 2311. And I ran out of room. It'll only let sports. SHR keeps them and reemerges. That's sort of when 2311 and Front Row Motorsports win and get them anyway. So there you and talking about not necessarily win the lawsuit, but win the injunction and get them anyway. So that is the poll question. Joe Gibbs Racing is going to have a little bit of a different look to it. Of course, they have moved a few things around. Of course, we know that Chris Gabehart is no longer going to be with Denny Hamlin. Him and Denny Hamlin have been a great combination for a long period of time, but he has now moved into director of competition for all of JGR. Taking his place is going to be Chris Gale. Chris Gale, of course, worked with Ty Gibbs last year, and I can't remember who he worked for before that. But anyway, so he's been working with Ty Gibbs, and they had a pretty good season there. They made the playoffs. So good season there for him and Ty Gibbs. I think that'll probably be a pretty smooth transition that'll be probably a little bit of growing pains, but he's got Denny Hamlin and Chris Gale. Looks like he is a pretty good crew chief, but a little bit of a different move here with Tyler Allen going to Ty Rockin' Randall Gibbs. You got two of the young guys there together. You got probably your youngest crew chief, I'm imagining. I'm guessing the youngest crew chief over there in the Cup Series. Now with your youngest driver. So Joe Gibbs Racing fully embracing the youth movement over there. And I kind of like it. I kind of like the direction they're going there because you've got a young guy that needs experience, and you've also got a young guy that needs experience in the Cup Series. So if you build them up together, they can build that rapport. I think it can build both. If it works out the right way, it can build both of them up, and you'll have a really strong team for a really, really long time. You could see a situation where that's a group that's together like 10 plus years. It could be another. I don't know who was the last time we had somebody for 10 or 12 plus years, and they did like really good things. Obviously, Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canals comes to mind. But you could have another situation like that if it works out together. So I do like the move. I like what they're doing, and hopefully it works out for them. We did have some other news, of course, to get to. And the other one, real quick, Will Brown is from the Australian V8 Supercars. He will be running 2 races next season for RCR. He's going to run COTA, Circuit of the Americas, and he's also going to run the Chicago Street Course. I missed that last week, so I wanted to get that in. But the other big story is Kyle Larson was doing I guess a live stream or a podcast with racer.com, their show that they had going on over there. And he made some comments that people found interesting. And in that, he said, I quote, "I know we had, one of the best, if not the best seasons. We led the series in most every category. So really proud of the team and their hard work. Yeah, I think we left some out on the table too. I'm excited about next year. Hopefully we can continue to evolve and get stronger as a team. And yeah, win some races, lead some more laps, and who knows? Who knows what the new format will be? That's what's grabbed a lot of people's attention. Who knows what the new format will be? So maybe it will benefit us somehow. So there you go. Kyle Larson basically leaking that NASCAR is going to have a new format. Now, we don't have any details as to what this new format is going to be. We don't know if he was maybe he misspoke or whatever. But if you're jumping off here, that there will be a new format according to these comments, you have to think, what could NASCAR really do? And Breakard made a great episode on this. Go watch Breakard's video on this. He's got a good episode on it. What possibly could NASCAR do in this short amount of time? Because you would have to keep all your TV stuff. So I think the bones of the playoffs would still be there. I still think you're going to have 16 teams in there. I still think you're going to have the 4 rounds. So I think that is still there. I think the only thing you could really do to sort of adjust the format here is maybe make it a different way to qualify for it. And I don't think that would affect Kyle Larson's team in any way, shape, or form because they're pretty good. I feel like they would qualify for it no matter what. So I'm thinking probably the tweak, at least one of the tweaks I'm thinking is going to be how you qualify for the playoffs now, which will probably be, you'll have to be a certain is going to be part of it. And what beyond that, I don't know what they would change because the TV partners probably still want their races in place that they paid for their playoffs. So I feel like the bones of it will still be the same. You'll still have 4 rounds, some type of way, some type of how, but you'll have probably a different way that you qualify for the playoffs. Maybe you have to be top 20 or top 25 in points, so a win doesn't matter. And I say that because as much as they say Austin Dillon, they took the win points away where he couldn't qualify for the playoffs for Right Hook and Denny Hamlin. I really still, to my core, think that they only took those points away because he was 30 something in points and they didn't want somebody 30 something in points to be in the playoffs. I think still to this day, it was more about that than anything, which made it even sweeter when Harrison Burton went out there basically the very next weekend, 30 something in points, won a race and got in anyway. So what NASCAR, in my opinion, was trying to prevent happened anyway. So I think that is that. But I think that's the only thing I can basically say, in my opinion, that's probably going to be for certain. There's probably going to be a different way to qualify for the playoffs, but I think the bones of it will have to be the same because they've already got the contracts in place for next season. And that's it. So let's jump into the comments and see what you guys think about all this, or if there's something I missed that you guys want to talk about. We'll do that as well. Starting here with Mark Barnum and Bruce Reed. What's up, guys? Mark Barnum saying, just so everyone knows, I have a pre-holiday deal going for the first 500K people that send me $2 before December 24th. I will send them my full details on how to make $1,000,000. There you go, Mark Barnum. He has a plan, and that plan, if successfully activated, will work for him. Don't think it's going to work for you. I'm pretty sure he's going to tell you to do exactly what he's doing right there when you send him the $2. Good joke there, Mark Barnum. As always, a classic. That is one of the classics of all time. What's up? It's right up there with. I don't know if you guys ever remember the solar powered dryer. Somebody was selling a solar power, and when you sent your $23 or whatever, however much you had to pay for it, they would send you a cord to hang your clothes on. So that was the solar powered dryer. It was not. He didn't lie about the marketing, and so there you go. Anyway, let's jump in.